some funky music. You know what I'm saying, guys? Here I am live streaming again. I didn't think I'd be live streaming this many days a week, but then again, I think I'd have the opportunity to live stream the end of America. All right. There are going to be a lot of whistling past the graveyard jokes like that. Hopefully you'll understand that ain't going down without a fight. Get these MFers. Yes, we will. And there we go. Welcome, guys, to the yet to be better named Cliff's Edge live stream. Thank you for being here. Anybody have any ideas for names? Come on, give me something cool. Cliff's Edge. Don't risk it. You may fall off. Cliff's Edge. Where Donald Trump meets it. Oh, I can't say that. Okay, can you all hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I here? Is there still no audio? Please tell me that there's audio. Yes? Yes, there's audio? God damn it. Okay, well, sorry, folks. I thought it would be okay. And when I was on Tony's show earlier, I did not have my microphone. There's the signal thingamajig. That's what we're going to call it. Then it gets the audio signal. I had forgotten to plug that in last night, and so therefore I went through my earbuds. Watch, those are going to probably die now too. But I thought that had been plugged in for long enough that we could use it for this. Apparently, we could not. But you heard the song at the beginning, right? I don't know. I don't know what the fuck. Maybe. Oh, I bet it was on and it died pretty quickly. That's probably what it was. So. Thank you, somebody who White Noise who smashed the like button. Sorry, what happened? I'm gonna add Tony so he can make fun of me. That fucking young Ozarkian mother.
What'd you do?
What did
you do your microphone?
I always do something. Always do something. Adam Barry, Cliff's Edge, inches from coming. Okay. Hey, welcome to Cliff's OnlyFans. We talked about it a week ago. I even showed my nipple a few weeks ago, and they didn't censor it out.
Censor that? Oh, okay.
No, I thought they might, at least
they might under Project 2025. You might get them too excited.
That's a good point. You know what? See, these are the little things, folks, that you have to enjoy. Right. Which is, in some ways, I'm going to tell you right away that porn should be available to everybody. But I will tell you, the people that most use porn again and again, it is proven, are in red states. And so
I am in a red state, and I am an avid user of porn. Yes, it is true.
Look at this.
It's the truth.
Look at this.
I would admit it.
Suckling mofo right here. So as far as I'm concerned, if they ban it and then a bunch of fucking, anything that happens that hurts MAGA voters makes me happy at this point. I'm at that point of evil. I really am. I've decided I'm going to hate them as much as they hate me. So whether it's their taxes going up or them losing
we
poor,
want plenty of equality when it comes to traded hatred, huh? Is it?
I just want
Is
them
that
to
what we're
fuck me.
saying? I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I like that. By the way,
You know what?
I like that.
They have taken away from me something that I never thought they could, which is my faith in my country. So as far as I'm concerned, fuck them. Let them lose everything. I don't care. If I see somebody who voted for MAGA being deported, if I see somebody from MAGA being arrested, if I see a woman
Whoops.
crying about losing her rights who voted for Donald Trump, but I don't care. I see some white guy like, oh, I lost my union got crushed. I don't fuck you. You did it. You did this. You knew what you were voting for. You did this. You voted for the most evil, awful human, and I use that word very loosely, on Earth, and therefore I have no sympathy for you. I mean, maybe
the only
Putin's
reason why you
worse.
say human is because you got a little bit of humanity left. Like
Yeah, but I don't even know that he is human. Again, I said I really feel like he's a large Jabba the Hutt like creature. I go back and forth between Jabba the Hutt and Jabberwocky. I think Jabba the Hutt may have come from if you ever read the Jabberwocky for the poem. I had to memorize it when I was younger. He's this large, like slimy creature that leaves a trail where he goes, like a big fat snail, and just eats everything in his path. I'm going to turn this into.
ew,
This is going to become a
ew.
children's book, by the way. You ever see that book that guy wrote? I actually knew that guy through a friend who wrote the book "Go the Fuck to Sleep" that became like this huge classic.
Yeah, because of Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah.
Yes. But he came up with the idea. He was joking on Facebook one night. I'm going to write a children's book about Jabba the Trump. I think, and it's just going to be it's going to explain to kids, show what Jabba the Trump does, and explain to you that's exactly what you shouldn't do. Because how else do I mean, luckily, my 18 and my 15-year-old are at a point where they get a lot of things. They're very smart kids. They both almost had tears in their eyes yesterday morning, because they knew it. They've got close friends. I mean, one has a close friend who's Mexican and is here legally, but whose parents I'm not sure are. And I mean, they have real dangers because of that. They also happen to be half Jewish, which never safe under authoritarians. And so, as far as I'm concerned, for me having to worry about my family, for me having to worry that I'm in a country that I don't know that I belong in anymore, or want to be in, or believe in, and I'm going through stuff just like you guys. So you have to all understand that. Like, I'm gonna have moments where I'm up and down. I don't go down without a fight, and I'm gonna fight these motherfuckers because that's just the only thing I know how to do. It's my nature. I can't. If you ever see me on Twitter, sometimes if you're on that crazy fucking loser apartheid owned app, which I'm on, by the way. So when I call it that, I did it because I wanted to be on there to message stuff. In any case, when you see people, when I go out of my way to rip the living shit out of people I can't stand, it's because as far as I'm concerned, these are people that have attacked my country and have attacked me. And I honestly, it's like, why bother? Because it's all I can do. I can't go. I can't find Jeff Bezos when he congratulates Donald Trump and go up and find him and go up into his face and say what I'd like to say, which is "fuck you, you dome-headed little bitch." So so instead, I'm gonna write that to him as I did on Twitter, because all I know how to do is fight bad people. I don't know if that makes me a good person or a sociopath of some sort, but
Right.
I hate evil people. I'm the guy, and I thought most of America was with me, that when I watch Star Wars, I root for the good guys. When I watch, uh, I'm gonna go real old school on you. When I watch Flash Gordon, oops, I missed it. My Twitter, if you want to follow me. When I watch Flash Gordon taking on Ming the Merciless, even if you don't know, have never watched that before. By the way, there are like 3 Academy Award winners in that movie, and it's the cheesiest thing you've ever seen. From like 1979, like the effects are horrible. But guess what? I'm going to shock you and tell you I root against Ming the Merciless. If I'm watching a show about a bunch of gangsters killing people and they're being taken on by the police, I root for the police. Unless it's the police attacking African Americans, in which case I root for the African. You know what I mean? It all depends on the situation. But what I'm trying to tell you is, I thought, it's funny I bring it up because it reminds me of the line in Goodfellas when he's narrating the story. He's talking about Jimmy Conway, who's played by Robert De Niro's friend. He's like, Jimmy Conway was the real goods. he'd go to movies with him and he'd root for all the bad guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like all these people, I thought, well, I don't even understand how these movies sell, and do people like them the way I do? Like things like, you know, the Avengers. Do they enjoy these movies because maybe that's what they wish they were, but they really aren't?
Yes. All the broligarch that went and voted for Trump in this election love Thanos. That's want to be Thanos.
Because to me,
didn't they watch the whole damn series and see that Thanos demise
is a genocidal maniac and
right.
loses?
I mean, right. It's kind of, I don't know. It seems like the Avengers story, which all stories are kind of arised from a certain point in history. You know, it's either like, you know, they got really pissed off about the Deadpool Wolverine because Deadpool in the movie, he says, I'm Marvel Jesus. And they got so mad. And like, dude, every fucking hero story is a Jesus story, dumb.
Every hero gets captured at some point, gets tortured, beaten up, and somehow comes out on the other side.
And frees all the people and, you know, does all the good things. Like, how do you not see that this is the story of Jesus? You people are just boneheads.
It's either Jesus or Odysseus.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or there's like 5 stories we tell again and again.
The Nazi Empire, which is Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is...
even call them the Stormtroopers, right? I mean, come on. Like, what's his name?
Right.
George Lucas started writing that in the 60s. World War II was not far in the rearview mirror. The reason why there were a lot of those paranoid style movies in the 70s, worried about governments and things like that, and international relations,
because it was so close.
Right. They'd lived this experience. And so I mean, I sit here and I'm just like, could they have made it any more obvious who the good guys were and who the bad guys were in that?
Right.
Hi, I'm the guy with the big black helmet on. Right. You know, it's not a racial remark, by the way, folks. I hope you understand.
And then there's the emperor, the dictator, the emperor. Like they called it, and like that's who I want to be. I want to be able to, you know, have an army of droids, and I want to be able to, you know.
And the emperor's like this, like, you know, he's like, his nails are like this long. He's all like, you know, because we find out what happened because Samuel L. Jackson beat his ass with some force lightning earlier in his life. But, you know, like he's just twisted creature, which is what Donald Trump is. It's like he even resembles the bad guys in movies. He says the same things. So all these people that I thought really were on the side of good, that really still had like the better angels, as we would call them. And, you know, no, did I fall for, and I don't mean in a bad way. You know, I've written speeches for high level folks before. We've run for president, stuff like that. You need soaring rhetoric. Okay, you do. Because that brings us all together. It makes us emotional. It makes us believe, you know. So some of Obama's speeches are incredible, whatever. But did I believe it? You know, when Obama said some of that stuff, there are no red states and blue states. There's just the United States. No, I didn't believe that shit. You know, and I mean, I understood that there are some fucking bad people out there, but I didn't think it was a majority of us.
Right.
I didn't think
or at least they could put a majority together to win the presidency, right? And not just with the electoral college, but also with the popular vote, which is immensely disappointing.
That's the worst part to me. The electoral college, I knew they could put together. I mean, the living embodiment of sort of some combination of Darth Vader, Jabba the Hutt, and like, you know, pick a gangster and you know, and pick a few creatures out there, a werewolf or two. I mean, like, this guy is just horrendous in every way. Biff Tannen, by the way, they based the bad Biff Tannen character. They admitted that the guys from Back to the Future was based on Donald Trump, the one that takes a normal society and, of course, cheats in betting because he gets a hold of the book. Thank you, by the way, Tomas, who's a member for a month. Well, a month already. Thank you. Hopefully, another month, and many more. But Biff Tannen, and where does he turn the place into? This gaudy, fucking crude,
oh my god!
Gross.
I just realized that we've already seen our future, and it's literally in the past, the alternative past of 1985 in Back to the Future 2. That is our future.
No, I mean, that's what they were trying to tell there. I mean, again, they looked at as an inspiration. They came out and said it. The filmmakers, that was the Schumachers. Do you remember who? Zemeckis. They looked at Donald Trump because, again, I was talking to this friend of mine yesterday who lives in Baltimore now. I live here. She went to, a good friend of mine. I mean, for God, way too many years, because we met in the third grade and have been friends since. And she went to she went on from there and is a lawyer and does all this great stuff to defend people. And we're just sort of like remembering back to Donald Trump in the 80s when we were growing up in New York. He was a fucking joke. He was a buffoon. He was this gross, crude guy who always made, like the memories of him, like when he was cheating on, I was almost gonna say Ivanka, but that he probably was cheating on Ivanka. Ivana, whatever, Ivana, Ivanka. You say potato, I say potato.
I mean, he doesn't know the difference. He doesn't care to know either.
When he was cheating on Ivana with Marla Maples, and he, of course, as John Barron, which totally wasn't him, because you've never seen the name Barron pop up anywhere else in his life. Called in, his PR rep called in, and they got a back page story on, like, I think the New York Post of Marla Maples supposedly saying best sex I've ever had, which she later, of course, claimed she never said. Like, a married guy wanted to get press on the back of one of the biggest papers in New York of his mistress saying it was the best sex she ever had. Like, he wanted to humiliate his
This is the guy you voted for. This is the guy you voted for.
This is the piece of shit that you all, I mean, so that we were thinking back to that, we're like, and they took this guy and made him into somebody. The Apprentice helped do whatever, but that doesn't even matter anymore, because you could use the Apprentice excuse in 2016. We didn't know how bad he was. We thought some of that stuff was overdone. Some of it seemed to be a liberal hit job. I mean, I'm making excuses. You should have fucking known in 2016, okay? But still, but you've now seen this in action. Like, literally, the Jeffrey Epstein tapes came out a week ago where he said his favorite thing was to have sex with his friends' wives. Do you know how empty a human you have to be
Right.
to do that? Like, at that point, you're not just wanting you're not feeling so pathetic about yourself that you feel a need to build yourself up by going and sleeping with your friends' wives, but you purposely like it that it's your friends because you need to humiliate them to feel better about yourself. That tells you everything you need to know about him. He can't feel better unless somebody else near him feels worse. I mean, this is who you voted for.
It's incredible.
Like, I sit there and I get like, I'm not claiming to be some angel. I'm not perfect. Trust me, I'm far from perfect. But man, I sit there in those Avengers movies at the end, the last one, when Captain America is given every last fucking ounce of his soul. He's beaten to shit, and suddenly, the hammer flies through the air. It's supposed to be Thor's hammer. Only Thor is worthy of that hammer that we know of till now. And it flies right past Thor as Thor's getting beaten up by Thanos and lands in Captain America's hands. And like the whole fucking theater goes nuts. And I'm telling you, I've got like goosebumps. And then he like pulls his suit down, Captain America gets up, like he's like hurting. As you can see, he stands up and all the people come back through the portholes because, they've undone Thanos' snap. And he's like, Avengers assemble, and they start going. And to me, I mean, it's like a superhero movie, just one of the coolest moments because the good guys are uniting to go fucking take out these evil motherfuckers.
Even though they didn't like each other, they had strife. They had, they had the Civil War where they fought each other. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when you're fighting evil, we're together.
And I'm sorry if I ruined it for you, but you really should have seen this movie by now because it's a couple of years ago.
Right. It's like 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Exactly. And Tony Stark, who was based on Elon Musk, to give you another somebody who we were tricked by, who the media wrote all these glowing profiles of. I guess he never opened his mouth to them, or they all suck and they're liars. Made it like he was this brilliant guy, this visionary, not a guy that stole other people's ideas and parlayed apartheid wealth from fucking blood, stones into PayPal and then use that. But in any case, Tony Stark, who in the beginning of it is just like, when they ask him what he is, he's like billionaire, playboy, genius, inventor, whatever. He gives, because that's what he is. He just cares about himself. And of course, his arc comes full circle to where he gives his life to save the universe. That's how much all of them come together to fight back against evil. And I thought maybe we were that. And
Elon Musk doesn't even know how to do the USA chant. Did you see that video of him trying to do the USA chant and Madison
like USA, or is that what he does?
Dude, it's bad. It's horrible. He's like USA, USA, USA. And he's like, you're like, what the fuck was that, man? How did all these people not see that and go, you don't know the USA chant? Are you
he's like a white dude who can't dance. Where it's like, like when Steve Martin tries to dance at the beginning of The Jerk, it's like he keeps snapping at the wrong time after like the beat because he can't do it correctly. Like
that is Elon. That is Elon.
He's this awkward. I mean, he has to have the EQ of like a lazy boy. In any case, like it's maddening that in the end these folks. Again, I want somebody needs to explain to me. I cannot say, because I am not them, that votes were disappeared until somebody gets me some evidence. So until then, I have to go under the impression. I'm not saying that I'm not keeping that open as a possibility, but until then, I have to go under the impression that 18, 16, I mean, once they count all the votes, it'll be 15 or 14, but it doesn't matter. 14 million people in the end, or whatever it'll end up being, did not come out to vote for Kamala Harris. Why? Because she was a black woman? I mean, because all that toxic masculinity shit is almost like it worked against Hillary too. It didn't work. It did work against Biden to a certain degree, but not as well. He was able to win. Is it that we can't, we can't elect a woman? And they knew that if they went toxic male as hell. Because the one thing I will believe, I'm sorry that I don't need evidence because they've done it before and we know about it, is that they had a Cambridge Analytica like playbook that Russia found ways to scrape information. I mean, there's so many data breaches at companies or whatever. Who's going to tell me that Russia didn't hack into some places? And they scraped enough information to build enough infographics and whatever to target people. Because we know that's come out already. There's a story I just came across.
And that's probably the interference.
It's called Projects. It's in the World's Opinion page, Project Syndicate, and the Democracy is All Too Powerful. Is that the one that it was in? It's in something like that. They, again, were targeting very much amplifying messages that were coming out of the far right. They were creating some of them. They saw stuff like the person that was accused of eating, the duck and turned that into the whole Haitian story. That came from RT. They were the first ones to, I don't even know how they're allowed. I mean, again, in a country that valued information over disinformation, and this is the fight we're going to have, and I'm going to keep talking about, which is the right has started preemptively because the right is always ahead of us. And their whole thing has been, no, you can't. You absolutely can't limit any speech. You can't do, because they know that if we can't censor it, they call it censorship, which is bullshit. But if we can't stop them from getting the equal right to lie about deadly things, about things that will incite riot and get people to kill people, in the same way that we tell the truth, they'll lose. Right. So it doesn't matter if they lie about vaccines and hundreds of thousands of people in numerous studies die that didn't need to die. I mean, again, I believe in as much speech we should be able to have, but when you're talking on a broader platform to a large group of people is when I believe there need to be limits on what you can say. If you're going to harm people, if you're going to cause people to attack people, if you're going to cause people to do things to harm themselves. No, I don't think that should be protected.
So under that, I want to expand on it, and then I got to go. Maybe you can talk about it when I leave. Because I talked about.
We're just going to talk about you when you leave. I mean.
Yeah, that's fine. MAGA censorship, because it's coming. MAGA censorship is totally coming. That's what we should brand it as. MAGA censorship. Not MAGA censorship. We got to say they're going to censor you from saying, you're censor you from protesting. They're going to limit your freedom of speech. It's going to be MAGA censorship. That's what they're doing to us.
Can we start a project here? I'm only going to interrupt Tony now because I actually think what he's saying is so important. It is so necessary, and I'm so glad you are saying this, which is the things that the right always gets out ahead of us and starts repeating certain phrases and certain, messaging, and we're like, and so many times Democrats are like, why are they doing that? Because they know something coming in the future and they're getting ahead of it. Think, you guys, I do this so that I can interact with all of you in the same way I can interact with Tony here, whatever. What are the things you think are coming? And what is it that we need to start predicting and labeling right now ahead of time? Obviously, that's one of them, MAGA censorship. We saw what Elon Musk did on Twitter. He was like, oh, no censorship for Nazis. But wait, you're going to tell people about my planes? I'm going to censor you.
Oh, you can't use the word cis. I don't like that word. That word hurts me. That word hurts me deep inside. So I'm going to censor that word. It's MAGA censorship. It's MAGA censorship. And you got to pin it on them. That's why you got to call it MAGA censorship. Because they'll be like, no, you're censoring us, see? And they'll get in this cycle where they're trying to walk away from the words MAGA censorship, and they'll try to explain it, which only makes it more apparent that that's what they're doing. That's what they do to us. They pin us up where we're like, no, that's not. We're trying to prove a negative. We're trying to prove a negative. And it's always a fucking fight. Make them prove negatives. MAGA censorship. What's not actual MAGA? It's not this. It's not good. Go argue it, you stupid little bastards. Go argue that you're gonna censor us, because we know that's what they're gonna do. We know that's what they're gonna do. So
we should do the same psyop shit they do. MAGA should only be said and shown next to images that make people horrified, sick, like, want to hurl. It should be equated with. We already have a good one out there. It should be equated with garbage. It should be equated with fascism. It should be equated with pure evil. It should be equated anything you can think of, like, raw sewage seems like a good one. I mean, again, because that's what it is.
And here's another one, and someone's saying in the chat, another form of MAGA censorship is taking your porn. Another form of MAGA censorship is not letting news outlets exist. That's MAGA censorship.
We call that in the messaging world, it's a narrative. So now you've created a broader narrative, MAGA censorship, and under that narrative fit the numerous individual messages that you want to share, which are MAGA. It's MAGA porn ban.
It all lives under that umbrella. It all lives under that umbrella of that narrative. And that's what they do to us, and we have to do it to them, because that's how they got the bro-oligarchy all fucking confused and voted for a dictator. They did that with messaging. And Cliff, I'm glad that I could give that permission structure for people to go out there and message, because that's one thing that people have to understand too. When you go out there and you put this stuff in the world and like, oh, you're just a dummy. You're like, hey, I didn't say it. Tony Michael said it. Cliff said it. They said it. I'm just showing you. And that gives the permission structure. And we got to understand that it is super important to do the mechanisms and turn the gears of messaging and narrative against their fascism.
Can I throw one more out there? I think it's just, obviously MAGA fascism goes, of course, say that. And that any number of things fit under that they do. But I think MAGA violence should be something we should use all the time.
Yep.
When we see them
violence,
doing anything.
MAGA fascism, anything that they're doing that is evil, we pin it to them. Don't just say violence, say MAGA. MAGA violence, MAGA this, MAGA this, MAGA this. And I'll tell you that I tried my damnedest to brand the Free Palestine movement in this country, who may have sat this one out and lost this election. I tried to brand the Middle East MAGA, and again,
they did worse than that. They didn't just sit it out. It's now we know the Russians targeted that group to vote for Jill Stein. So any Jill Stein votes you see from them, I love this. By Maggie, thank you for the $20 super chat. You can always treat MAGA like you treat smoking. Exactly. It's disgusting, like smoking. That is the way it needs to be, right? And we know that. Well, to get back to what you're saying about the Free Palestine movement, again, there were people who legitimately wanted peace and wanted us to not have violence and come to a agreement, to come to an accord. And then there are people that were out there that just were sowing chaos and trying to turn people against the Democratic Party. And we now know, of course, which we knew then, that Russia was behind a lot of it. But I think Rex is here.
Okay, I'm going to get the hell out. I'm going to get the hell out of here. I'm going to get the hell out of here and let you guys get to some good intellectual conversation, because everyone knows when the hillbilly's here, it's just a big pile of shit.
Intellectual conversation happening. It'll be coming from Rex, because I don't know that.
Well, hey, at least the audience will enjoy someone having some sort of intellect on the show.
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of cool too. I'm switching over from the Ozarks here to Chicago.
Right. Okay. Well, good.
It's like watching Ozark.
That's pretty close, though. That's pretty close, because Marty Bird in the story comes from Chicago.
That's what I'm saying. It's like watching Ozark.
Exactly. It's perfect.
Let's go back to Marty Bird's original home as we say goodbye to Tony.
That's right. All right, everyone. I'll get the hell out of here. Just go to theTonyMichaels.com. Find me everywhere there. Thanks, Cliff. We'll see you.
Take care, bud. And we will add the great, the one and only No, I mean, good friend of mine, honestly, one of, I think, the best columnists in America, and I'm not bullshitting. You brings sanity to me through a combination of comedy and understanding political issues and being able to break them down for people, and righteous anger when necessary. And that would be the great Rex Huppke, who's here. And if you guys don't read Rex's stuff, you got to. You got to. Rex, how the hell you hanging in there, my friend?
I'm glad to see the check I sent you cleared. Thanks for the kind words.
Hey man, hey man. You know, next time it may have to be a little bit bigger, but
yeah,
that's fine.
it has to go up. I get that. That's
if it doesn't always grow, it's like an addiction. I get used to what I'm getting, and I need a bigger hit of payoff.
You're gonna need money to cover the tariffs.
It's sort of like Jared Kushner, you know. It's a you know, I'd love to talk to you about a whole lot of stuff. And just so you know, a lot of people are saying hi to you in the chat here. Jane Jones and Linda Jamraz. I hope I pronounced that right. Sila Angelia. I apologize, folks. You know, not that bright here, but hopefully I can get your names right. You're all awesome. I know, and I've seen you guys here before, so thank you. Rex wrote a terrific column, and you know, I've been thinking a lot about this. I spoke about this yesterday. I spoke about this a little bit earlier today when I started off. And it really is, you know, we got taught this myth when we were younger about the greatness of America, and you know, of course, that went along with George Washington and, you know, not chopping down the cherry tree and a million other things. And I'm not saying that there weren't some people that did some terrific things in this country. Well, they did some awful things too, but you know, paved the path for democracy at a time when democracy was not a widely accepted concept. It was considered to be radical and crazy. Yeah. We got as far as we got. I don't know how the hell we did. I mean, we had a civil war where we almost lost it. We had other periods, depressions, this, that. But what the hell, Rex? Who are we? What kind of people are we?
Well, we suck, and I think the
yes.
I'm actually writing another column as we speak. Well, not as I'm not doing it literally right now, but I just I took a break from writing that column. I'm about midway through it, where I kind of go off a little bit on my sort of antisocial streak, which is, you know, most people generally suck. I mean, you know, there's good people out there, but, you know, generally speaking, I would most like to just, you know, like my family, kind of, you know, close, you know, people that I'm friends with.
No, I suck. It's okay.
Well, no, I suck too. I mean, I'm also not defending myself, but I'm just sort of like saying, you know, if we were all great and perfect, we would be living in a global utopia where we don't kill tons of people or destroy the earth, you know. And so I think there's an argument.
Imagine that.
Yeah, right. So I think there's an argument to be made, and I think we often forget, you know, that people are reactionary. It's a mix. There are very smart people out there who voted for Trump. There are very not smart people out there who voted for Trump. There are people who saw that their grocery bill was still too damn high. And whether it's the fault of the media for not properly communicating the state of the economy, or whether they just don't give a shit. Am I allowed to swear on here? I don't know.
Yeah, fucking go for it, man.
They just don't give a shit about, or they don't pay attention to anything. I mean, whatever. And again, I'm not trying, you know, despite everything, I have no love for MAGA people, obviously. You know, if you support Trump, in my mind, you support all that he stands for. And that makes you, in my personal view, not a good person. We don't share the same values. Let's put it, that's the nicest way I can say it. But there are also a lot of people who clearly voted for Trump for just because they don't know what the hell's going on, and they don't know what they were doing. Like, I mean, they did, you know, they don't know they don't know what's coming. They haven't been paying attention. They haven't been tuned in. They get what information they do get, they get from, you know, very filtered sources. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it was funny. The Michael Ian Black, the comedian, who I'm also friends with, and he's a fantastic writer.
He is. I've read some of his work, and he's a funny actor. I used to watch, what was that show, Ed or whatever it was years ago?
Yeah, right. There was that, and he was on The State. And yeah, great stuff. Yep. Anyway, don't let him hear me saying nice things about him. But he wrote a piece.
I'm sure he's not watching the show, so you're probably okay.
Well, word gets around though. You just don't know.
Yeah.
So he wrote a piece today for his Substack blog thingy, and he talked about, you know, the fact that he's glad it was a blowout. And I agree. I'm actually, to me, this is far better than we lost.
2016. Yeah.
Like we lost by 2,000 votes in Michigan because of Jill Stein or something like that. Because this is America showing its whole ass to us. This is what the people want. I don't want it. I think it's scary as hell. I think people are going to get hurt. I think people are going to die. I think that cruelty will abound. I think we are, creating probably a generation of kids who are going to see value in being a bully and in lying and in denying when you lose.
That part I hate so much with my kids having to witness that.
There's so much bad about it. But I mean, this is what people wanted. I mean, there isn't any ambiguity about it this time around. I mean, this is what was voted for. This was not close at all. And
I know.
And so like I see the Democrats are now like, well, who's to blame? And it's Biden's fault, and it's this person's fault, and it's that person's fault. I'm like, it's the fault of the fucking people who are either voting against their own self-interests, voting because they like what Trump offers, or just, not paying attention and voting because, like I said, because grocery prices are too high. And I do get that, right? Like I get, it's a lot easier for me to get annoyed with somebody who is voting for Trump because they're like, yeah, I like that, than it is for me to get annoyed with somebody who just isn't dialed in, isn't paying attention, and is frustrated because prices are high. That's a life, altering thing. That's a problem. So
right.
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm not saying I respect it, but I'm saying that like it's a lot harder for me to get mad at somebody for doing that.
I understand. But that's where I get mad, and I know you've seen this because you follow me on Twitter, and usually you're one of the people I'm thinking of. You, Will Bunch, Greg Sargent, a few of the folks that I think do a brilliant job when I start ripping and going off on corporate media and how much I hate it and how much they've destroyed our society. And then I make sure to say, with the exception of a couple great ones out there, it's like I always put that in there because I'm thinking of you guys, and there's others that aren't coming to mind right now who are awesome too. But overall, to me, the whole point of a free press, the whole reason it's in the First Amendment is to educate people so they understand what's important, how to vote is part of that, how to live their lives, what's safe, what's not safe, all these kinds of things. And when you get to the point where you're both sidesing everything, when you get to the point where a guy that owns multiple companies, including one of the biggest freaking monopolies, saying, nah, we're not going to have an editorial because I don't want this guy to go after after Amazon. You get to the point where you see editorial decisions made that are being pressured from above that make no sense, and stories are being written. Trump is literally sitting there. We can say it straight out here. Unlike on, I got in trouble for this on Stephanie Miller's radio show. Are sitting there saying he's sitting there openly talking about Arnold Palmer's dick. Okay, and the way the New York Times wrote it is he said some colorful things about Arnold Palmer, and when they do that, they're not telling people what this guy did. Now, maybe even if people knew that, it wouldn't have made a difference. But the point is that I don't care. I don't want your censored crap. People need to know, and it is so important, as I pointed out before, because so many medium and small size towns, like here in Cincinnati, their newspapers take cues from the New York Times and the Washington Post as to what's important, what to cover, how to cover it, because they don't have the resources in a lot of cases to do it themselves. So the end result is what goes in the New York Times, 1,000 flowers bloom out here, or should I say 1,000 turds bloom. And in the end, people end up believing, and they don't see the worst of Trump because all they have the time for in their busy lives, they may be commuting an hour to and from work, have to work 2 jobs, have to raise kids. I always put it this way: they're seeing headlines and chyrons, and when the headlines and the chyrons are not telling people the stakes of what this guy will do constantly, okay, because people aren't going to get it if you tell them it once and then you move on, or twice and then you move on. To me, they're failing us massively, horribly. At that point, I don't, what's they're just tabloids. I don't even know what the reason for their existence is, or their necessity, which is why I'm glad 12% or whatever it is of the Washington Post subscribers unsubscribed, after that. As far as I'm concerned, like, I think that model of media is almost dead in this country. I don't trust them. I don't trust the Washington Post. I mean, thankfully, Will's newspaper, the Philadelphia Inquirer, owned by an independent foundation, not a large corporate oligarch, chose to tell the truth. And so I'm not saying there aren't any good ones out there, you
Yeah.
know. And obviously, you're at USA Today. I know you guys didn't endorse. I'm not going to give you shit for that. That wasn't your decision. You wrote a lot of great pieces, and those are important to read. But too much of our media was, paved the path for Trump. I mean, low information voters. That's how you inform them, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I agree with a very large amount of what you're saying. I just for clarity's sake, and because this whole thing kind of bothered me a little bit anyway. So I work for USA Today. USA Today had never endorsed. I got there a couple years ago, like 2.5 years ago. They had never endorsed anybody prior to Biden's election. They endorsed Biden in the 2020 election.
Okay.
However, and this is the thing that got missed, we got kind of sucked into that Washington Post, LA Times stuff. We like around 2022, I think, like around the time I got here, when I arrived at USA Today, there was no editorial board. And there had not been for several months, at least prior to that. They basically just said, we're not going to write editorials anymore. Just like the audience wasn't, there wasn't much of an audience for it. Anyway, whatever. I'm not sure what all the inner machinations was, but that was in 2022. So the reason that we didn't endorse anybody this year is because there is no body to endorse. Like, there's actually not a thing that could have issued an endorsement. If I had been at the Washington Post or the LA Times, I would have walked over that. Absolutely. I thought that was reprehensible what they did. It was
fair. That's totally fair, and I was unaware of that. And,
yeah, I know.
I knew. Yeah, I knew back in time at some point, but not more recent. I guess I forgot it. So
yeah,
okay,
but it was part, like, the messaging. Just, I don't know exactly what happened, but it got sort of vacuumed into that whole story. And I was like, wait, what? That's not. I mean, we knew we were to endorse.
So what happened there is the media created a narrative about the media
about itself. That's very meta.
It is, right? But yeah, go ahead. You go.
Well, to your broader point, though, yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm struggling with what the industry I love, how it has handled things. Now, it gets complicated, right? Because it isn't simply a cut. It's not an all one or all the other thing. I like the sane washing, as has been talked about a lot, of Trump. That has absolutely happened, and it has been ridiculous. And I agree with you. I was fighting back when I was at the Chicago Tribune before I came to USA Today, and I've been covering Trump for a freaking decade now. And it took me a while before they would even let me say he lied, when he clearly lied.
I remember that. Yeah, that was like a fight we had in 2016 because a lot of places wouldn't allow that.
Right. So it's been this sort of like slow, like annoying evolution. So the sane washing stuff, I don't get that. I don't like it. It's been absurd. I agree. I feel that personally, not speaking for USA Today here, just speaking about myself and commenting broadly on the media in general, broadcast, print, everything. That has been, I think, a abdication of our responsibility. I think the way that he has been presented, the fact that this guy was in any way presented as a legitimate candidate. I don't care that he has all this support. I don't care that he became the nominee. Under no objective, I mean, again, that's the core of our business, being objective. Under no objective scenario should that type of a person be treated as, a sensible, legitimate person to put on the political stage. And frankly, if it was, I honestly believe this, and I don't understand the reasoning. If it was anybody other than Trump, it would never happen. Like, I think if,
clicks, I think, and ad revenue, and he was the star of The Apprentice, and
he kind of, for some reason, he has managed to evade the kind of treatment that you would expect. And like I said, I mean, if the next GOP candidate they ran out was similarly convicted and an adjudicated rapist, he'd get tanked immediately. Same with the Democrats. If the Democrats want to counter, be like, well, maybe we need to find ourselves a rapist.
No, right. Hey, we've got, I mean, we can go see if Harvey Weinstein's available, or
right. But the thing about it is the way this worked out, though, and this is not giving the media a pass. I like I said, I agree with much of what you just said, and if not all of it, pretty much. But at the end of the day, though, what I see from this election was it didn't matter. It sure as hell, the Washington Post, LA Times endorsements sure as hell weren't going to make a damn bit of difference. And honestly, I think I would argue that the way that the media has presented Trump and legitimized him is a factor, but it is by no means the factor.
It's not. I'm not going to say it's the only factor, but I do think it's a very strong factor because it was a narrative created that he was a normal guy, right? And he was presented as a normal guy. And once that happened, you know, our brains compartmentalize things. And so we're able to kind of look past some of the just horrific things about him. I mean, I think I said this earlier when I was, you know, on these days, Tony, I go on his show, who was on right before you came on, Tony Michaels, and then he'll come on. I'll go on the end of his show, I'll come on the beginning of mine, and you know, and we'll go from there. He's on usually about 15 minutes, and I went on and you know, and I was talking about some of these exact issues, right? About how you know, initially the media sort of, I mean, maybe it's clicks, maybe it's ad revenue, maybe it's publishers, whatever. But the determination is that he is going to be presented as this normal guy. So once that happens, I suddenly know people who are thinking about him again. A lot of them who after January 6th were done with it. But suddenly, because he's been presented as like a realistic option, and people are doing it, and I'm going to these same people. What I'm saying, especially after he's found to be a rapist in a civil court, and after he's convicted, and and we all know about his history of money, whether it's not paying workers, not paying contractors, and so I go to these friends of mine, all of whom have there's a few of them, all of whom have teenage female, who have teenage daughters, and I'm like, would you trust him alone in a room with your daughter overnight for 12 hours? And of course, they're like, no. And I'm like, would you, one or two of them are CEOs of things. I'm like, would you sign over power of attorney for you or your business to this man for 12 hours? No. And I was like, well, how the fuck then can you want to hand over the United States to him, the treasury of the United States, our well-being, a nuclear arsenal, a huge military apparatus, a spying apparatus, go on and on and on. And it's almost like they were able to compartmentalize it and separate it. And only when they thought about it that way were they like, for a second. And I don't know what they ended up doing, but the point is that to me, media narrative was so important in that making it that like they'd be shocked for a couple of days. Oh my God, he was just convicted of crimes, and then they'd never mention it. It'd come up here and there, but shouldn't that have come up in almost every article? Shouldn't that have been a basis of presenting this man when you're describing who he is for president? Shouldn't it be every time people be reminded he is a convict? He's an adjudicated rapist. He's somebody who is so close with Vladimir Putin that he went into rooms with him alone without translators and basically got down on his knees before him in Helsinki. Like, I just don't get how you can present this man to people and forget all of that and act like, he's a normal guy. He says it like it is. He says some really crude things, but he's a fucking criminal. Like I just, that's what gets me. And I'm not saying it's all media, and I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have made a difference.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you're right. But I mean, part of the problem too is how people get information, right? Because the mainstream media is sort of represented as like the main conduit, and I don't think that we are anymore. I mean, look at like Joe Rogan's reach and compare that to my reach, or and I work for one of the biggest.
You underestimate yourself. Everybody's reading Rex Huppke.
No, I mean, I'm serious. Like, it's kind of staggering. Like, I mean, I don't know the numbers for New York Times, Washington Post, et cetera, but I mean, USA Today is one of the biggest papers in the country with the biggest reach, and I can tell you that my reach or even the entire paper's reach probably, and Joe Rogan's reach are not even in the same universe. So, you have so many people who are not getting information via what sort of historically have been considered the main conduits, right? Again, that's why, like, honestly, I was the Washington Post LA Times editorial endorsement thing. I thought it was reprehensible.
No,
Again,
it pissed me off, but I don't think
yeah,
it made a difference. I
right.
agree
If I
with
was on those boards, I definitely would have done what many of them did. I would have walked away from that because that is unacceptable. But nobody fucking cares. I mean, nobody cares.
you. No, nobody's
That would
reading
have
those
not moved.
editorials.
That would
You're
have not
absolutely
moved
right.
the needle. That wouldn't have moved the needle a bit. Joe Rogan endorsing Donald Trump and saying that Elon Musk rocks and whatever, that probably did move the needle, you know, and
No,
that should
I
scare the
agree.
shit out of everybody. So and I don't know how you fight that because I don't, I mean,
Well, there are ways to fight it. I would start with Joe Rogan may have achieved that on his own. I don't know. I don't know the story behind him. I do know the story behind plenty of right wing influencers because I in the world of, and I've seen plenty of people on the left who are much more talented disappear and go into corporate work because they couldn't make a living.
yeah,
While magically, Ben Shapiro, who sounds like he just sucked on a helium balloon for the better part of an hour, and honestly looks like a Lilliputian in
yeah,
in one of those stories who has literally no charisma. I remember when people were questioning who's putting those $1 million ads in
yeah,
Facebook. Literally, spend $1 million advertising his show. I remember when I wrote a book called The Real McCain in 2008, and that scumbag who was one of the main ones behind the swift voting of Kerry wrote a book about, claiming that Obama's birth certificate was fake in 2008. My book, I think the AFL-CIO threw an event for me. So, I might have gotten a free couple $1,000s. His book was mass bought up by the Heritage Foundation. It was
nice, yeah,
published by Regnery, however they're pronounced, the right wing publishing house. He got a big advance. I'm sure I promise his advance was much bigger than mine. And he had no bigger name than I had at that time. And
yeah,
he had a mass buying of his book. He was all over Fox News and all of that stuff. And I mean, so we've sat here and we've watched. I mean, it's not like people haven't read things like the Powell memo before, which if people need me to, I can go into their plan for taking back power by, putting plants in the media and creating an alternative to mainstream media. They've created right wing think tanks to skew, like
yeah,
Heritage and AEI to skew what Brookings does. We've created maybe Center for American Progress, one or two others. They've created like 30 of those. They have Fox News. They have numerous magazines, numerous sites online, whatever. How many do we have funded on the left? I haven't gotten a dollar. This thing is at, on what I've done, and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying the 92,000 whatever subscribers we have here, no one's giving me a dollar to do that. You know
yeah,
what I mean? If I were on the other side and they were like, and they believed in me and they thought, wow, I mean, and frankly, even if they didn't, because I don't know how they could believe in Ben Shapiro, but they're just like, Cliff is somebody who entertains people, whatever. Somebody would write me a $500,000 check to do all the things I need to do to blow this up. So I'd be at 750,000 subscribers, within
yeah,
6 months. And you've
perfect,
seen it on the right again. I mean, some of the people who've left the right, who were former right wingers, admit it. They tell the stories about it, right?
yeah,
I mean, David Frum used to have an endowed seat at the American Enterprise Institute. I think, well, I don't know, it was $200,000, $250,000, and essentially like, just go out and write. Well, we're supporting you. Go out and argue. Go out and write. And then you maybe get a contributorship on Fox News. You got the only contributorship that I ever got, Rex, Sinclair. Yes, Sinclair. In 2004, Sinclair needed a liberal analyst to argue with all the right wingers on TV, and they thought I was entertaining, and I enjoyed, yelling at right wingers and getting paid for it. So I would go with Sinclair. That was back when I lived in DC. That's the
yeah,
only time I've ever been paid, and I wasn't paid nearly as much as Armstrong Williams, who was later busted, as you probably know, and other people may know, right-wing influencer type guy for writing. The Bush administration was paying him to write positive things about their policies, and he was doing it. No one was paying me to write positive things. I wouldn't have accepted that, by the way, because that's cheating. But that's my point. Is we haven't even tried on the left, and if people don't think that right-wing media hasn't affected mainstream media
oh
and
yeah,
gotten mainstream media
oh,
to cower and to, so I mean, that's a big part of this. I'm not trying to completely blame mainstream media. I don't know what left wing, or liberal, call them what you will, billionaires have been doing. I know a few of them. I'm trying to insult people that I know. There are many others I don't know. but I don't know how they can watch how like we have this huge upswing in communication during the election cycle, and then it disappears for a while the
Mm.
right has its garbage it's selling people out there
Yes.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If their message is about immigration, doesn't matter if it's February, doesn't matter if it's April, it's out there.
Yeah.
And
No,
and we haven't even tried to counter that.
yeah.
It's current TV that lasted for like a year, and then Al Gore sold it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've long said if there are any billionaires out there who would like to, to give me lots of money, I will be happy to.
Me too.
Oh,
You
and
want me and Rex to start a Substack, and you're a billionaire watching this for a bill for really? We're not even greedy.
yeah.
I'm going to speak for. I'm going to be Rex's agent here because I'm Jewish, so we do that kind of stuff. Um, and I'm going to say that Rex and I will do it just for $500,000 a year each.
Oh, yeah. No
I
problem.
mean, not a lot of your net worth. That seems good. That seems fair. Speaking of that, look at that. Where I'm talking, I wasn't saying this so that you would do this. I always obviously really appreciate super chats. Is that EL Dirk? I think can't afford 500,000, but I have to keep you in the game and support as best I can. Mainstream media reports on what gets them revenue. I think many cases, sadly, most cases, lots of cases, that is the case. Thank you so much. Honestly, I always any folks, I should remind you at times, I don't want to push my own stuff here too much, but if you become a member, either here at YouTube or at Patreon, I'm going to get in the swing of creating extra. I've already created an extra video, but there'll be a lot more because I'm getting more. The election theoretically was going to make me more organized. It was going to be over. Kamala was going to win. I was going to be fine. Okay, so it didn't go quite like I thought. I'm still busy as hell, but I owe you guys stuff, and I'm going to do it. I hope you join and support me. Thank you for the super chats too. Subscribe, obviously. But let me get back to the point here with Rex, which is again, I think that huge right-wing media apparatus combined with a lot of mainstream media that we know is owned, a lot of it's owned by conservative publishers. I mean, people have come out and said things. I never, or owners. I don't want to mix up terms, but high-ranking individuals. Well, none of us can forget. Was it 2016? When Les Moonves, of course, came out and said, "Well, Donald Trump's bad for America, but he's great for Viacom's bottom line."
Yeah.
I mean, when you hear stuff like that, it's hard to not become cynical about things. And I would say the Philadelphia Inquirer, and that who was the only newspaper, I say this again, to call on Donald Trump to drop out after that debate with Joe Biden because he was a serial liar, I believe, in their words. Everybody and the Cleveland Plain Dealer, who I guess top editor Chris Quinn wrote a letter that angered a lot of readers, and he said, "Sorry, one candidate here is a convict, the other isn't. One candidate here refuses to accept the results of the 2020 election. We are going to be honest." And at the time, Biden was still in the race. When Joe Biden does things that deserve criticism, we were never going to cover for him, but we were going to cover these two guys honestly in what they do. And Donald Trump is proving again and again that he's breaking norms. He's been a threat to democracy, and we were going to talk about him like that. Now, there are people said there are other papers. I can think of ProPublica too, which is nonprofit owned, and there's probably ones I'm missing. I mean, you can tell me, look, if you are incredible, and I subscribe to USA Today quite honestly just because of you. If I'm missing other great stuff in there that I should be reading, and if USA Today is a newspaper that calls out the bad guys, then that's another one too. But so many. The only thing I'll argue with that you said earlier, Rex, because I do agree with you on podcasts and all that, and that got us in the discussion of how the right has built up a lot of that system. But the New York Times really does, and the Washington Post, those two specifically, really do influence papers. Sometimes the Cincinnati Inquirer doesn't have enough content on its opinion page, so it just runs some of the opinion stuff from the New York Times. Would be an example. I have to believe that kind of stuff is going on in Kansas City and in Minneapolis and in Tuscaloosa. And I mean, they don't have the readership, the reach of Joe Rogan, but they do affect the narratives that other newspapers have that are out there.
Yeah. The one,
and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get into media. I was more wanted to talk to you about we all just suck, and maybe should a meteor hit the earth? And have we gone really as far as we can go, kind of like the dinosaurs did, where it's like
I feel like
they can't really achieve anymore. The Tyrannosaurus Rex has those little hands, can't do much with those. Let's just end it. Are we at that point? Should we just have a large meteor hit, or are we salvageable as a country?
We've punched our ticket out here. Are we salvageable as a country? That's interesting, and I've seen a couple people writing stuff about that. I mean, yeah, look, I'm not. The difference I feel a fundamental difference this time, and again, a lot of it has to do with the way this election was won, and again, it was handily won by people who I think are horrendously awful, and whose upcoming actions, things they have explicitly said, I fear. But this is what people have chosen, and I am a lot less. And look, I will always speak up for people who are being treated unjustly. That's
no, and you should all. I want to say we should really all read Rex's column, because not only is he one of the funniest writers out there, but quite honestly, he takes the side of the little guy, little gal, little whoever. I mean, he writes about important issues, not just what's everywhere in the media, about injustices out there. Excuse me, that need to be written about. So go ahead, Rex.
Thank you. That was very kind. But I am, what am I trying to say here? The last time there was this whole resistance, thing, and now I got to be honest, man, there's a good part of me. I will, look, if I'm somewhere and they're trying to break up families and drag them away, I will lay down in front of the ICE vehicle if need be. And I will write about and speak out against that sort of thing 100%. But at the same time, I have a very strong feeling right now that the people who voted for this, regardless of what we think about media stuff, all of the information was out there, right? You know exactly what you're getting this time. Okay. You can talk about sane washing, etc., which I do agree with, but at the end of the day, the information's out there. And the one counter that I will put forth in terms of kind of the media in general is that if not for the media, you wouldn't know about a lot of this stuff, right? You wouldn't know about a lot of the bad things. Have we, and I'll speak just broadly, failed when it comes to allowing Donald Trump to be normalized? Yes, I think that has happened. But I do also think that we have provided, and especially if you look at like Washington Post, USA Today, New York Times, big publications have done a lot of coverage of everything from Trump's misdeeds, exposing stuff that had happened, reporting on his trials and various other things, and like we have an excellent coverage of like the sort of extremism beat, basically, showing these things happening. So my bottom line is, regardless of the
we're just an awful people.
Regardless of the top line stuff, the information was there. The people who voted for this guy are going to get exactly what they voted for. And I do not want anybody hurt. I do not want anybody to suffer, but I'll be damned if I'm going to sit back and feel sorry for people who voted for this. You voted for it. You're going to get exactly what you asked for.
Yep. Sorry, I just want to say quickly, Chewy became a new member. Thank you, Chewy. And we've got Vicky Heathcote, I believe it is. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Who also became a new YouTube member. Thank you. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying there, and again, like we I've gone through the media ad nauseum. When I started off, so we don't even need and if you need to go soon, I understand, Rex. I started this off just talking with Tony, and it really more started off like, I thought when most people watched a movie like Star Wars, like with me, they rooted for the good guys, right? Yeah, I thought that when I got goosebumps when Captain America got up, picked up the Thor's hammer, united everybody, and went after Thanos. Like they probably were rooting for the same dude as me, but maybe not. And maybe fiction, they can like be the people they wish they were, but in reality they're a lot more selfish, and they're a lot more they're a lot more harsh. They're a lot more cruel and uncaring. And and maybe that's who we are. Some of my theory is, it's funny because after I brought up just a few things of where I thought Newt Gingrich was sort of the beginning of MAGA, because the first time they replaced an Illinois guy, Bob Michael, who had been the Republican leader in the House of Representatives, moderate Republican, not somebody I agree with on a lot of things, but a reasonable guy with an absolute circus clown who didn't believe in anything but power and attacking his opponents and all of that kind of stuff. And I was, just saying that Reagan wasn't even like that. Reagan had beliefs. I disagree with most of them, whatever. Somebody accused me on Twitter of defending Reagan. Like, wow, you really don't know my take on Reagan. I was just making the point that he actually had. So, he was horrible on, I can name AIDS. I could talk about Iran Contra. I could talk about his ridiculous tax cut. I could talk about all sorts of things. I just said a few things that, he was in favor of an assault weapons ban or a few things like that. People are like, oh my God, you love him. I'm like, no, I don't. But you really want to know how much I don't love him. I believe that going theory is when Newt Gingrich is when the Republican Party changed. To me, Ronald Reagan is when we started changing as a people. Yes, we were racist before, during this period of time, sexist. I'm not saying we didn't have lots of problems, but from the 30s to the 80s, we had this sort of, after the Great Depression up until Reagan, we had this civic-minded, we're in this together. Workers got stronger and stronger rights. Corporations, were regulated, were vastly regulated. We didn't allow the monopolies to just go around and destroy everything else. So much progressive legislation was passed. The EPA was created by Nixon, for fuck's sake.
Right. Yeah.
Even Republican presidents were supporting, what later became Obamacare. A lot of folks do not know this, was what Nixon proposed.
Yeah.
And Teddy Kennedy rejected it because Teddy Kennedy thought we get universal health care. And then we didn't get healthcare for a lot more years. And I'm not going into ripping on Teddy Kennedy. I'm just pointing out where things were at that time. That there was more of a civic virtue. There was more of an understanding of the public square. It belonged to all of us. That the social contract, like Rousseau and John Locke, and you can go back to Enlightenment principles that informed the Constitution. That there was this common good. And Reagan, all the me started. And and the irony was some of them were ex-hippies who, if it feels good to do it in the 60s, suddenly became yuppies in the 80s.
Right.
And I honestly feel like that's where it began, I'm more important. Screw you. I'm not paying high property taxes. You get that proposition. What was it in California? 77 or whatever, when they got rid of it, and then you get the huge tax cut and all of that. And I feel like that over time, it's like a virus that's morphed into, I don't need to get that vaccine, even if it kills I don't care about your grandmother, right? What's her name? Bethany Mandela, whatever, wrote openly on like, call me grandma killer, but I want to bring my kids, that right winger. I want to take my kids to the zoo. So I responded to her on there. I'm like, I hope you enjoyed seeing the fucking walrus with your kids. And, if you killed somebody's grandmother, that's great. You're a good person. Where that attitude of I am more important, I count more, where it wasn't embarrassing anymore for CEOs to make 300 times what workers made because me. It wasn't embarrassing to say I should be able to own a freaking assault rifle, even if there's kids getting mowed down in schools because me. It feels like that is something that started with Reagan. Because if you actually track us in terms of social policies that we passed and a lot of other things, we track with Europe so closely in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Hell, we were to the left of them on some issues. And then we veer to the right and they keep going in that direction. And suddenly, with the exception of something Obama could sneak through, like Obamacare, or Clinton could sneak through, like family and medical leave, not paid, but at least it existed. No more. Like we I mean, you can tell me I'm completely full of shit, or I don't know what I'm talking about. But my theory is that 8 years of Reagan and the culture that spawned. Greed is good, right? Greed is right.
Yeah.
And we've never been the same since. That that our sense of Americanness, of that greatest generation of Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio and people that were, didn't think I play baseball, I don't have to go to World War II. They went and they served like everybody else. They were not special,
right?
And instead we became something very different. That is my theory, at least. You can tell me again that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but
No.
and that's where I think we became a worse people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's as good a tracking of this evolution or de-evolution as as I've heard. I mean, yeah, and I think that that is what, you know, at its core, MAGA is extreme selfishness. It is an extreme level of selfishness. It is a complete lack of concern for anyone who is different from you, who, you know, is dealing with things that you don't want to understand or know about. You know, it's that's why they're opposed to diversity, their DEI stuff, you know, blah blah blah.
Yep.
It's a massive like self-aggrievement, like, oh, everybody's out to get me, woe is me kind of bullshit, when, you know, they're
Yep.
still sitting at the top of the ladder, really, in terms of the power structure and whatnot. So whatever. And again, that's what I'm saying. And that go back to my, you know, simplistic thesis. People kind of suck, man. I mean, they do. Really do. Like,
Can you
again,
name your next column that, or they won't let you?
that's literally the thing I'm working on right now, and I really believe it. And I realize it's kind of antisocial, and it doesn't mean I don't think there are good people out there. It just means I don't think there are a lot of good people out there, and I think most people are kind of a pain in the ass, and I don't really want to have much to do with them. That's why I largely kind of keep to myself, because you know, I would have a much bigger circle of people in my life if I didn't feel that way. But most people either, you know, they bore me, they're selfish, whatever. And what we have just seen is a vast number of people who, look, objectively, all ideology aside, picking Donald Trump as president is not smart. Just objectively. It's like, you know, it isn't smart. I don't care what anybody
No, I
says.
mean, again, like
No
if you
sensible
had,
person can argue that. And so a bunch of people just did a very not smart thing. And why did they do that? Democrats can toss and turn, and Bernie Sanders can point fingers, and people can bullshit all around all they want. But at the end of the day, y'all suck.
yeah, I got
And
to tell you, you know, again, I mean, and the irony is, have probably support the vast majority of things Bernie Sanders has, but I took a lot of shit from people on the left. Hell, I even, you know, there was a show I stopped going on. I used to go on Sam Cedars' show, and folks in the audience there got angry at me because I thought Bernie Sanders was an asshole, and I still think he's an asshole. I think he argues for a lot of the right policies, but my God, is he quick, you know, right now at this moment to
yeah,
just jump off. You know, he was all aboard, but he just jumps off and
yeah,
starts
right.
yelling and screaming about at the rest of the party. And let me say this, okay? I pointed out that Europe kept going in that direction. They have universal health care
Yeah.
in every European country. They have
Yeah.
paid family and medical leave in every Western European country. They have all these things we say we want: longer vacation hours, more vacation hours, better, stronger unions. And yet, wow, shockingly, somehow, you know, it's in Italy, it's Prime Minister Maloney who's to the far right. You know, it's the Brexit people won in the United Kingdom. I mean, I'm sorry, if it was just about logic and getting, and that's the way, that's I'm sorry, it just pisses me off because I saw it, tell you the bullshit that Bernie Sanders peddles. Oh, if we just stood up more for working people. We stand up plenty for working people. We're the only people that were on the side of unions, and Biden actually passed a bill to do it. Biden helped working people by lowering their
Yeah.
prescription drug prices, you know, Medicare negotiating price. I mean, we did a lot for working people. You can't argue. You can argue that you could have done more. You could argue that if you want that Biden and Kamala are too centrist for your taste, and they should be more to the left. But to make the argument that if we just did that, they would all vote for us, ignores that other big continent over there
Right.
where a lot of it has done these things, and they still have Nigel Farage and the far right, and Marine Le Pen and the far right. And a lot of these people win in these countries. So, no,
Right.
it is not just that. That's such, I can't stand that because it is simple minded bullshit. And it does not, this is a multifaceted, difficult thing. And I just think there are people out there that, as you said, suck and are always going to be selfish. I think some of them were fooled. I think some of them believed media narrative. I think certainly it would have made enough of a difference. I don't know, but I do know that I think we can reach a lot of those people. I know it because we have before.
Sure.
I mean, we, and I know that Donald Trump is, he sucks at virtually everything a human should be good at. He can't even open a fucking door to a truck. Okay, um, the man walks up on Air Force One with toilet paper stuck to his shoe. He wears a girdle. He wears a diaper. Okay, his hair, as Penn Jillette said, is piss cotton candy. He looks like he dipped his face in carrot cake, like he's the Mrs. Doubtfire character, but it was carrot cake. He dipped his. I mean, he is a clown and a ridiculous person in so many ways. He has ripped off workers. He ripped off students with Trump University. He's done all of these things, and yet you can't deny it. He has this animalistic magnetism to these MAGA folks.
Oh, yeah.
He gets up and he kind of laughs at stuff and says things he's not supposed to say, and just laughs it off. And he's an entertaining. He's WWE, where he learned this stuff. Right. He's an entertaining character to them in a way that he may dream about it, but that Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and Tom Cotton and JD Vance, all the people that literally are like charisma event horizons, right, will never be.
Yeah.
So maybe a unique character in that way. I hate to say it, because the charisma clearly doesn't work on any of us.
No.
It's despicable. I find it. I'm glad that somebody threw out here Carl Jacobson, Will Bunch's book, Tear Down That Myth, on Reagan. Read it. Trust me. It informed much of my thinking on Reagan.
Will Bunch is amazing. He's my favorite columnist.
We're going to have Will on. Will is up there to me. I've got like a holy triumvirate, or whatever. 5. It's more than that, and I don't know what the word for 5 of them is. Quintuplet. Quintuplet? Is it pentagon? Is it
pentagram?
My holy pentagram of devilish writers, of fiendish writers, but up there with Rex, and it certainly Will is must read every week, and he knows his stuff too. And I've spoken to him also. We're going to get Will on here at some point soon.
Great, yeah, he's a great guy, and he's the best person in the country, as far as I'm concerned, at putting things into like historical perspective and like really framing and understanding how, like what you just did with Reagan, basically, like kind of how we got where we are and what it says and that sort of thing. I love.
He puts the strands together into a narrative, and it includes history, includes culture. He reminds me of once Frank Rich stopped writing his column for the New York Times. I used to love Frank Rich's column because he was formerly a theater critic, and he used that because politics is and it's only gotten worse since then, is theater. And Will, it reminds me the most of that. And then he works in cultural references that make sense, at the periods of time. He works in history, as you said. He works in everything, and it's like you're reading, it's fictional nonfiction. I mean, because it's not. It reads like you're reading a novel. It's great stuff.
Yeah, he's good. Let me tell you one quick Bernie Sanders thing, and then I got to buzz out. But so I wrote ages ago. I think this was like in the 2016, somewhere around there. I wrote a very silly column about Bernie Sanders that was making fun of him, but it was lighthearted. It was just a goof.
Right.
I don't even remember exactly what the angle was, but it was not like mean. It was just like, haha, Bernie, something like that.
Oh God.
Now you are very familiar with how much I've written about the MAGA crew and stuff. I have gotten, as I'm sure you do, and anybody who walks through that fetid swamp, you get just hate mail, threats, just horrendous stuff.
Yeah, can anybody see this? Maybe it's too far off camera. I got to get further on. Somebody sends me every 3 months here approximately an image of Donald Trump giving me the middle finger.
Oh, nice.
So I actually put it up on my bulletin board up here. Actually, hold on, because I like it. I like it so much. I enjoy it. I should have another copy ready for next time, so I don't have to do this. But here we go. Hold on. Sorry, folks. Sorry for the break. I'm sorry for showing you my butt. Hopefully, I work out enough.
This is where the membership's going to go through the roof, man. This is becoming OnlyFans.
Yeah. It's OnlyFans, right? So there you go.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Donald Trump, give me the finger. I get this. That comes to me every 3 months. In any case, yes, people like me and Rex, we get mail. I've gotten one or two worse enough, far enough worse than that. It wasn't English, but you know what I meant. That I've had to call the FBI. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I need same. I've endured not the FBI, but the local stuff I've had over the years. Whatever. But my point in this is that column on Bernie Sanders unleashed a hell like I have never witnessed in my life. I received more threats. I received some of the cruelest, most twisted, disgusting email I have ever gotten, threatening my family, my children. So I do like to bring that up because people on the left tend to think it's only the right that's a pain in the ass. But let me tell you, the far left is a whoo man, big time.
No, I'm sorry. I don't care.
I'm
Bernie
pretty
had a
far
cult
left.
of people at that. Yes, I am too. And that's what I said.
Yeah.
Like when Bernie taught, I would never, I'm not a socialist. I own small businesses. I believe in private enterprise. I believe that monopolies, I mean, you can't go that far, I think, to the left of me, because I would sit here and say right now, AOC's proposal for the 70% tax above 10 million, I'd raise it to 80. The Elizabeth Warren, 3% tax on billionaires for everything above 50 million, I might make it 10%. I mean, I would break up every goddamn monopoly that has destroyed our environment, that has destroyed their competitors, that have ruined workers' wages. I would be on such a streak right now of antitrust, of trust busting, which has gotten it. So I ain't no I ain't no economic conservative, but I'm sorry, I'm also not a socialist. I think small businesses, if you have a dream and a business, you should be able to start it. You should be regulated and all that. Otherwise, universal health care, things like that, right there with him. I'm right there with him on a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
And yet,
that same kind of MAGA-ish, fan
right.
club, and it's rough, man.
It became a cult. I'm sorry. It became a cult too because they got mad at me because I brought up the fact, because I was somebody, the main thing I did, and I know if you have to leave in a second, Rex, I don't want to, but I brought up the fact that the first really big PR client I had when I started my own firm was Michael Bloomberg's group, which, and again, there's somebody else I didn't agree with a lot of things on, but on guns, he was right on. And I
Yeah.
was, I didn't do PR for him. I did PR for every town for gun safety and was trying to help them get more, win some of the battles we have in the States and stuff like that to save lives, right? And Bernie's record on guns sucked, and his justification for it was crap. He said, "Oh well, I thought it was because the people in Vermont care about owning guns," and then you're just like, "Well, you're the anti-corporate guy. I want to know why 3 Republicans, I think it was, in the Senate voted against giving immunity to the gun industry, but you voted for it. Do the hunters of Vermont need the NRA to have immunity from lawsuits? No, they don't. You
Right,
fucking you jumped in with them. So he's holier than thou about everybody else. But then and I mentioned that, and they a lot of these folks could not stand it and would come
Oh,
at
yeah,
me and attack me. And again, he's not that far to the left of me, but whenever people would wanted him to be the nominee, I'd be like, and the fact that half the people that surrounded him are now on the right have become like anti-vaxxers and nuts, and the Glenn Greenwalds and Bree Joys and people like that, where they are now. So kind of feel like
just for the record, though, I want to say I love Bernie Sanders. So nobody.
Me too. I love him and all of his followers.
We're all cool.
I don't need letters from any of you. You guys are great. You're awesome.
Big fan.
So Rex, let everybody know where they can find you.
Oh Lord, hiding under the bed.
I mean, not don't give me your address because you just said something about Bernie. But
in the basement.
Exactly. But maybe like if they wanted to read a column or they wanted to say hi on Twitter. I don't know if you want to give them that now either. But I'll leave it up to you what you want to share. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. USAtoday.com. My columns are in the opinion section. You can find them. There's a lot of them. I write a lot because idle minds is the devil's playground or whatever that phrase is. And I guess probably Twitter is the best other place. It's just at Rex Huppke, REXHUPPKE on Twitter. I seriously don't know how much longer I can deal with it over there, but at least for the moment it's there. And if I go anywhere else, I'll post something there.
That's
I'm on Threads. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook columnist page, which is Rex is a jerk.
Oh, I didn't know. I haven't spent a lot of time on Facebook. I'll have to go and join that because again, I'm having the same issues. Which I thought, all right, we'll win the messaging war. I'm not going to just hand it over to them. Kamala will kick his ass, and then I can just leave Twitter. And that was sort of my plan to leave that apartheid blood diamond scumbag behind. But now, and I can say that because I'm not a columnist at USA Today. I basically, now I don't know what I'm going to do, because part of me is like, just let it go, and part of me is like, I'm a fighter by nature. I don't want to let these guys
Yeah,
win. And
yeah,
if it's a place that people are still making arguments, if it's even possible to do that at all,
yeah.
I don't know. But I'm on Threads, and that's I was going to say that to people, is I know, because I follow Rex on Threads. I don't know if you follow me back though, jerk, but that's
Oh,
okay.
I may not. I haven't done a lot on Threads yet, to be honest.
I
I
don't.
just
It doesn't really matter.
I'm, I'm between social media sites.
I know. I'm between. So it's like girlfriends. I'm between social medias at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Michael Spacco, I remember you. Where are you, you silly boy? He's a new YouTube member, old friend, good PR guy for the left. But in any case, Rex, you can see Rex's stuff on Threads. So that's, if you don't want to go to Twitter, and I understand if you don't, that is an alternative. Facebook, he said, find his column, page there, and I don't know, maybe after this, I've said too many bad things that will get him in trouble at USA Today. But if I haven't,
No.
I will
No.
have him back on, because I'm just going to be honest. This is a ugly, ugly business, and frankly, there are even some people on the Democratic side who, say important things, but I don't particularly enjoy talking to them. Maybe that's the people suck thing that Rex said before. But Rex is actually a genuine human being who I enjoy talking to. So
Oh,
I will beg him and plead with him to come back on at some point in the near future.
absolutely, and right back at you. Keep fighting the good fight, and thanks to all who tuned in and had to listen to me babble. I appreciate it.
It was good babble, solid stuff. Hey,
All right.
take care, buddy.
All right, we'll talk to you. Be good. Bye bye.
Yep. All right. So we get to that other part of the show. Although we've been on a while, hour and a half almost, not bad. I would like to know what you guys would like to know. Rex is great, by the way. Let me just talk about him for a second. He was at the Chicago Tribune, very conservative paper, as you may know, but never gave in, never like on a column. He wrote what he believed, and he's funny as hell. He has a way with words that's brilliant, and he makes political points, often using humor, sometimes righteous anger. A man after my own heart. I love what he does, and I would tell you it's one of the best reads out there, honestly. If you read his column, Will Bunch's, some Greg Sargent, some whatever, I'm being annoyed right now. Kurt Bardella writes some great stuff. Although he writes at the LA Times, I hate that paper, but I still will read it because I really like Kurt, and he's smart too. There's some good folks out there. Was it be Sid great? Be Sid great. Shit, gotta go. 12:30. Sorry, I know we don't always run this long, or sometimes. I guess you're out on the West Coast. 12:30, right? It's 3:30 here. But got any links for Rex? Well, let's see. I absolutely can find you one. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Okay, we got this. We got this. And we got this. That's Twitter. Or X, as they call it now. But I won't ever, because if Elon calls anything one thing, I will call it something else. I don't like blood diamonds or evil people or people that don't know how to order donuts, for example, or make bad Diet Mountain Dew jokes. I can't fucking believe he's gonna be vice president now. This moron who lives 2 miles down the street from me here, when he's chooses to be in the state. God, I can't stand him. JD Christie, thank you for the super sticker, $1.99. I really appreciate that. Any amount is really, really appreciated. Guys, I don't know what to do here. I may have to start doing these every day. I know that will make you very sad, but this is really kind of addictive, and I like people like you. I may think a lot of people suck, but you people are really good people, and it's almost like this is the way of wheat, getting rid of the wheat from the chaff. You're the wheat. Tim Riley, thank you for becoming a member. Like, I get to be here. I live in Lebanon. Oh, Lebanon. Yes, Ohio. I am close. Midas Lisa. Yeah, I'm in Cincinnati. I'm, not downtown, middle somewhere. I'm sure you could figure it out. I don't know if I should just make it easy for haters out there and say exactly where I'm. Yeah, Middletown is 10 miles from you. These guys came here from the Guardian. I think I posted it once on my YouTube. I'll post it again. And they did this thing on white voters for Kamala and for Trump, and they interviewed me here, which was pretty cool. So it was up at the Guardian. Let's see if we can find that. I can share that link. And they were talking about let's see, maybe I can't find it just by doing that, because I used to write a column for the Guardian. I'll find it and share it on again on I'll find it and share it again, folks, on my YouTube and Twitter or wherever. But Amy Jackson, I think it's communism is the opposite of liberal. Amy Jackson, you are correct. It's an authoritarian system. You don't believe in it. If you believe in liberalism is openness, is open, right? Transparency, choices, freedom, liberty. Where the words are pretty related to liberty, isn't it? Right? Yes. And there's no crack anymore. It's gone. Steady Eddie 543. I don't know what that means. Crack cocaine, crack in your TV set, crack in the sofa after JD Vance is done. Okay, we didn't need to go there. Gosh, I'm just such a card. Going back to freebasing. Yeah, well, what else we got? What else you want to know? We're running a long show today, and I don't quite feel like going yet. I can if you want me to, but I sort of feel like at least another couple minutes, right? I despise liars and cheats. Own your mistakes and make yourself better correcting them. Anton Goat Lord. You know what? That is a great point. That's why I've said to other people before, and some of you were very nice and thought I was, I don't know, maybe you didn't know me well enough and thought I was like apologizing for myself when I was saying that I was trying to interrupt less or whatever. And somebody, I guess, at Tony's channel was, annoyed with me. And my whole thing was, if you're annoyed with me and you don't like me just because you don't like me, fuck off. I don't care. I'm me, I honestly, like, I'm so comfortable in my own skin, so happy. I'm lucky in so many ways with family and friends, and I just was trying to say, if somebody was telling me I was doing something, I'm also what I want to say, unlike the toxic masculinity Trump crowd, I'm not a fake man. I am a real man, and a real man, like a real woman, can admit that they make mistakes and can say, "Hey, I can do that better." Doesn't mean you have any upset with yourself. So that was something that happened, and we got past it. We're having fun here. We're rocking and rolling. You do realize this is important by Maggie Pie. You do realize that Trump is risking to make a right mess out of European security. He's going to. This was one of the things that any traditional Republican, Sila Angelea, I think you've told me a few times I'm awesome and you're amazing, and I really do appreciate that. That is very kind of you. Thank you. Anyone hear President Biden's speech? I didn't actually. So I need to. But in case, what she said, what Maggie Pie said, I mean, this is going to be really difficult now, right? I worry about this. I worry about, I'll answer this one next. This is an interesting one. I worry about them building up, there being a nuclear and other arms race in parts of Western Europe that felt safe in NATO before, but especially with Turkey, Hungary, those weren't big blows to NATO. Those weren't major NATO countries that went rogue, but now us. And if you're those countries and you think we're aligned with Putin and those guys, I don't know. If you have the resources and you're one of these other European countries, don't you try to build up some arms for, I mean, if you're Europe, are you sharing any of your intelligence with us right now? Absolutely not. I'd be cutting the US off completely. That's horrible. It's horrible for the world. I mean, this choice that this country just made, they have no idea how much more dangerous the world is the day this man takes over. We know he stole all those secrets. Let's be honest. He sold some of them. Okay. Do I have 100% proof? No. Do we know that he was in close contact with Putin while he wasn't president? Yes. Was he in contact with the Saudis? Yes. I mean, does anyone not want to think that, what does Trump do everything for? I mean, yes, some of it's fame and whatever, but mostly it's money, you know? So yes, Europe's getting out. What is your work background? I think you worked for some campaigns. So I thought that was interesting by Denise Rossler. Thank you for asking that. I had a weird, I got out of school. I worked on, the first thing I did, because I'm an old guy, at least middle aged. I worked in '96 right out of school on Clinton's reelection. I worked at a polling firm. And that was where I got my start. And I was addicted. I worked for the College Democrats in Clinton in '92 when I was in school, and for a congressman in Philly. I went to college in Philly. And then I went on a weirdly different path for a little bit. A friend convinced me to try Wall Street, and I did, and I hated it. I was on Wall Street honestly for maybe a year, and then I went back to grad school for public affairs. I thought I was going to probably write speeches for people, be in government, so I could concentrate on media and communications, some international stuff too, because I thought I'd lived abroad in England and France and spoke some decent French. Actually, it's spoken pretty well then, not as well anymore, but. I thought maybe would be an international journalist, a speechwriter, whatever. And as things went, I just kind of it kind of went along and worked in a number of domestic campaigns. Met my wife on one, and in the end, I was living in Washington at this point. And I decided that I was going to start my own firm. I did, and it's nice when you get somebody like Bloomberg as your first client because that helps pay the bills, so you can try to get other clients. And I started doing PR and eventually also paid ads. I did TV ads for people. You may have seen the one I most recently did with some folks about that guy. I think Tony showed it on his show, and it was up on Twitter about a sexual predator thanking from prison Donald Trump for allowing him to be guaranteed to be a daddy in 9 months. It was spooky, but it needed to be out there. I wish it had done more. So the key thing is I wrote ads for Biden in 2020. And so, I'm skipping along some years. I mean, I ran comms for the Ohio Dems in '08 for this one section to win back the state house, which we did. I'm giving you highlights. I lost plenty of things too. But I worked on overall, 3 presidential races. So it was essentially a combination of understanding messaging through polling and adding to that the skills of communications, writing, communicating on camera. I used to do these debates on MSNBC, argue with people. Same with Fox. It's goofy. I think I mentioned the Sinclair thing earlier. They paid me to go on and fight with right wingers. And then, I eventually, I basically had a consulting firm where I did a lot of PR, some policy writing, some stuff like that. And what happened was from all the times of going on TV, all the stuff that I did, I wrote a book on McCain. I should have mentioned that. I was a writer. I had columns at different times for The Guardian, for The Daily Beast. I had a syndicated one that went out to newspapers everywhere. And all that led me to a point where I was doing 2 things, essentially. There's writing, it's part of my job and whatever, and some columns on the side, and doing PR type work, marketing, and then mostly political, but some corporate stuff when it didn't offend me, or actually some good corporate stuff. And then what came along was I realized I had this large list I had built, and I started doing email fundraising because I realized I could raise money for candidates, and that just blew up beyond my dreams and expectations. And so I'm still doing PR. I still write ads. Again, I did one recently, but I'm doing less of that. I'm concentrating a lot on this email list. We were able to get millions of dollars to Kamala Harris and to senators, some of whom won, thank God. And I do that as the main thing. And then this YouTube is the other thing, So this is really kind of the thing I'm trying to figure. I don't need a big cable channel that pisses me off in a lot of ways. I got this. I got you. I can build this YouTube channel. I mean, if I started off slowly doing whatever, right? I'm sorry, there's a long explanation, so I'll finish it up, which is started off, on this YouTube channel doing a couple things a week, whatever. It grew, but it wasn't growing at that rate. And I think over a year and a half, I got up to about 50,000 over a year, 50 something thousand subscribers. And then I took this young man, Tony Michael's advice, also a few other friends were like, you got to do more. And so I started doing live streaming. I started doing more shorts every day instead of these overproduced 5-minute ones, which I love to do because I love putting movie clips and funny stuff in there. But realized I had to create more content and put more stuff out there for you. And you guys have rewarded me in the last
the last, I think, 8 weeks or so, I've gained 40 or 50,000 subscribers. Like, we're knocking on the door of 100,000 right now. So my hope is to get this even bigger. And then, asking how I get connected with Hal. I knew Stephanie Miller through some friends, went on her show. As Adam Berry, was it? Got invited to go and even be a performer. And let's really put performer. I mostly was talking, making a few jokes at the Minneapolis Sexy Liberal tour. And I met Hal there, and Hal and I hit it off, and he asked me to come on his show every Monday. So that's how I met him. Tony through some friends too. I mean, I'm sort of, one of those types, outgoing. And so if somebody introduces me to somebody, if I especially like them, I make the effort, and you never know, right? So going on Hal's show helped a lot. Going on Tony's show helped a lot. Creating more content helped a lot, and here we are. I think I lost about 500 to 1,000 people because I understand a lot of people got upset after the election and decided they needed a break and whatever. But I don't know what I'm at right now. I haven't checked. But I'm somewhere between 92 and 93,000. So we're knocking on 100,000's door, and then I'm going to try to get it 200, 300, 400, 500, make this a real platform where I can make a difference, where I can reach people, where I can influence. I've already had Mediaite, if you know them, pick up 1 or 2 stories from me. I think Raw Story picked up a few from me. I want to influence media. I want to influence social media. I want to make sure that hopefully, if my voice has value, that, which you can decide if you think it does, that it gets out there. And I think YouTube is a good way to do that. And I'll stream obviously way beyond YouTube, so that I'm also I think I'm on Twitch right now, even though I've got like 4 people there, and Twitter, where I have a lot more. That's the story, folks. And that was a lot. I'm a diva. Thanks, Cliff. You're cool. I try to be cool, damn it. BJ Kodak. Love you, Cliff. Thank you. Sila, you're telling me I'm amazing, and I'm telling you, thank you for tuning in. And again, I think some of you tune in to Tony and what he does. Jim Williams, you're amazing for supporting me, for sharing everything in there, for being a mod. Man, there's a real crisis. Trump 2.0 will just sit there with his arms folded and pout. Yes, that's what I mean. That's why Europe is going to change, because they know they need to take care of themselves. They undid Brexit, the British, in a huge way. The French were moving to the right with Marie Le Pen. It looked like she was going to be elected, and they all came together to defeat her. And then we failed. United Kingdom and France, 2 historically important countries in NATO, took care of their fascists and authoritarians, and here we are. Could you sell ice to Eskimos, Cliff? I think if I did not buy Cliff, Roxy's gone. Have a good day, everyone. Take care. Thank you for being here so much. Seriously, thank you. I have that kind of personality. I probably could sell ice to Eskimos, but I have one problem. It's this weird little damn thing called a conscience. And that's why I can never be a con man in the way that Donald Trump is. I can never, even if I instinctively, I do get that part, I guess, that Trump seems to get. I walk in a room and I kind of know from looking at people, I have a weird sort of sense of what it is they want to hear. But I'm not full of shit. So, I mean, I want to please the crowd, but I also want to tell the truth. And I find some combination of the two to how to do that. I'm not just coming in a room to fleece people, which is what Trump is doing. So I couldn't sell ice to Eskimos because I couldn't live with myself. Do I think I might be able to pull it off? Maybe. Do I think I'd look in the mirror the next day and be proud of what I saw? No. It's a real bitch having a conscience. Cliff, I'm all about making the right wing pay a price for their death threats and defamation. This is my old friend Mikhail Spacco. I'd like to teach more people how to sue like Freeman and Moss did. I think that's a great idea. And I would ask you, you know how to reach me, my friend. Reach out to me. Because I think one of the paths with our extreme interpretation of the First Amendment right now to allow what I consider to be yelling fire in a crowded theater and disinformation being as important as information, the stuff that would get you thrown in prison in the United Kingdom and in Canada and France and other countries, you get away with here. And that's what part of what has us so ass backwards right now. I think one of the few things we can do right now is use the legal system the way Dominion did. I don't know why people that lost relatives, or maybe I missed it, didn't sue over their COVID lies. I mean, at Fox, they had to get the vaccination to enter the building. So these people knew the importance of the vaccination, and they went on the air and lied to people about it. People that listened to them and died. I don't know why there wasn't a mass lawsuit. but there should be. Jim Williams, I'm going to put this up there. Yes, this is it, right? Like, support, support me, support Tony, and not just me, because this isn't just self-serving. Support Stephanie Miller's awesome. I go on probably about once a month. She's great. Roland Martin, I met. We were both being screen tested for a CNN show ages ago. That's the only time I met Roland. He's terrific. Sherry is a good friend. The 5'8", I've been on. Those guys, Stephanie, Lincoln's Bible, and Greg Oliar. I'm gonna get Greg on this. He knows more about the Russia situation than most people. He's terrific. Tabitha Speaks Politics. That may be the only one I don't know, Jim. Do I not know Tabitha? I'm not sure I do. Cliff may suggest you not follow Tony. I love you both, but 3 to 4 hours of you guys. I get that. The issue is with my starting out is I need to start with us with especially to give me kind of the energy to love this when I do this is it made it easier for me to start with an audience. Now, originally, I didn't think I would go this long as I did today. I thought 45 minutes. That's what I was saying. So it has gotten longer. Maybe we'll figure out something where I don't do it some days after his. I think, well, who is that blue dot in Arizona? Who asked that question? But the thing is that, again, a lot of this audience is now used to the schedule, and I have to be pretty confident in the fact that Arizona Blue Dot 196, I have to be confident that we're going to get this kind of an audience. I mean, the whole point here is to hopefully interact with people, if I can educate about things I know. So I'll take that into consideration. I take everything into consideration. But as of right now, being right after Tony is the best way to ensure that I get a really solid audience to start off with. And so what I probably will start doing at some point, I figured I'd bring this up, as I have some friends from political work I've done who you might call celebrities. I'm not saying there's a ton, but there are some. I think a lot of their names you guys would know. They're interesting people. I've already asked a few of them to come on. And in some cases, we may not talk politics. We may actually talk about the thing, famous sports announcer, 2 or 3 famous musicians, rock band guys. We may talk about what they do, and hopefully Bebe B. I love pondering politics. I'm going to put that up here because Josiah is fantastic, and I should have mentioned him. He has also been really helpful. Probably once a week or so, he's put a video of mine. He's got about 400,000 subscribers, something crazy. He's put a video of mine on his wall. He just offered to do it because he's one of those who doesn't just preach it. Oh yeah, we all need to grow together and whatever. And then you see these people behind the scenes and they don't really believe it. They're full of crap and I'm not going to name names. It's not worth it. But people that promised me they'd share my videos when I started this and of course did not. Josiah, I didn't even know when I started this. I just reached out to him and he started putting my videos up. He's freaking awesome. If you're not subscribed to Pondering Politics, subscribe. He's a fantastic guy. He's a very smart guy. And he's a very nice guy, as Babe B is saying. Babe, I have to figure out if I'm pronouncing it right. Adam Mockler, I think, is great too. I don't know Adam. He seems like a nice guy though. Shannon Meshbane. But I think he seems like a good dude. Seems like a smart dude. Just haven't met him. Maybe that's the best way. Sucks being in a red state. Yeah. Well, it does, because Ohio was a purplish red state. Even when we elected Trump by too much, we still had Democrats who were, winning congressional races. We had a big year congressionally in 2022, picked up a seat or 2 in the House. Sherry Brown was still hanging in there. We were competitive, and this is the first election where we were not competitive. I don't know what the final result is, 12, 13 points. It's going to be ugly, but I'll just end this by saying, look, thank you all for being here. I love doing this. I saw what, I keep getting it wrong, Blue Dot Arizona or whatever, said that you understand why I do this now, but I will start doing, I think the celebrity ones will be able to get people no matter what. So I may start doing some of those separately. I mean, it's not like I know a gazillion celebrities. So we're talking about maybe once every 2 weeks to once a month. But, that's that'll probably be the size of it. And those will be at different times. But for now, I'm going to keep doing these right afterwards. And I think that's about it, guys. It's been awesome. I thank you so much for being here. I have to run, and I got some kids who are home from school today, and I like my kids. I also have some cats. I like them too. And I'm going to do some work from there. And you know, that's about it. I'll see you when I see you guys. Okay. Thanks so much for being here. Is that my goodbye phrase? I'll let you tell me what you think my goodbye phrase is, because I can't steal the surfs up motherfuckers one. So I'll see you when I see you, or damn nice to know you. No, that one sucks. We'll come up with something. But for now, I'll see you when I see you. Take care.